The massive view screen on the bridge of the Imperial cruiser Dominion flickered to life, displaying a human in a simple blue uniform. The Imperial officers stared in disbelief at the message being broadcast across all frequencies throughout the galaxy. This is Admiral Tom Wilson of Earth's United Defense Force. As of today, the Sol system and all its territories are hereby closed to all Imperial vessels. Any unauthorized entry will be considered an act of aggression and met with immediate defensive action. Earth is no longer an Imperial resource world. We are free. Commander Grell, a tall figure with pale blue skin, laughed as the transmission ended. The humans have finally lost their minds. What do they think they can possibly do against the might of the Empire? News of Earth's declaration spread quickly through the Imperial capital world of Nexus. In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Imperial Council, High Commander Drell slammed his fist against the polished black table. His red eyes narrowed as he addressed the gathered counselors. This is unacceptable. Earth has been a valuable mining colony for over 7 decades. Their resources fuel our expansion in the outer sectors. An older counselor named Pax raised her hand. Perhaps we should simply send a diplomatic team. Earth has always been unusual among our holdings. Diplomacy, Drell scoffed. For a backwater world that produces nothing but raw materials and simple labor. They need to be reminded of their place. Back on Earth, inside the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Wilson watched as technicians activated defense systems that had been built in secret for the past 20 years. All planetary shield generators online, reported Lieutenant Lisa Parker from her console. Orbital defense platforms report ready status. The Mars shipyards have launched all available vessels. Wilson nodded and turned to the gray-haired man standing beside him. Do you think they'll believe our bluff, Dr. Reed? Dr. Marcus Reed, once ridiculed for warning against trusting the Empire, shook his head. They won't see it as a bluff, Tom. The Empire believes we're primitive. They have no idea what we've been building. On the outer edge of the Sol system, beyond the orbit of Pluto, Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, Defiance. The massive vessel, hidden from Imperial sensors for years, represented humanity's best-kept secret. 6 sister ships formed a defensive line behind it. Captain, long-range sensors show Imperial ships gathering at the Proxima Centauri jump gate, said his first officer, Mike Davis. Looks like a small fleet. They're not taking us seriously. Walker smiled. Good. That's exactly what we wanted. He walked to the main view screen, looking at the stars. After decades of being treated as little more than animals by the Empire, humanity had finally had enough. The Empire had taken Earth's resources, used humans for dangerous mining operations, and treated the planet as nothing more than a convenient stop for their ships. All ships, this is Captain Walker. Activate stealth systems and prepare Defense Grid Alpha. Remember, we don't need to defeat their entire empire. We just need to make them think twice about coming here. Throughout the Sol system, hidden platforms and satellite weapons powered up. On Mars, massive ion cannons emerged from the red soil. Beneath Europa's icy surface, sensors tracked every movement near Jupiter. In orbit around Earth, civilians watched the sky with a mixture of fear and hope. They had lived under Imperial rule for generations, trading freedom for the promise of protection and technology. But that protection had come at too high a price, and the technology shared had been minimal. As the sun set over the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Wilson walked to the window of his office and looked up at the darkening sky. And so it begins, he whispered. The Empire wanted our resources. Now they'll see what we've done with them. Dr. Marcus Reed's aged hands trembled as he opened the old metal box. Inside lay a single data crystal, preserved for 75 years. The memories it contained still haunted him. Is that what I think it is? Admiral Wilson asked, leaning forward in his chair. Reed nodded. The original first contact recordings. The day everything changed. He inserted the crystal into the reader, and the wall screen flickered to life. The date stamp read July 14, 2150. A much younger Marcus Reed stood among world leaders in a hastily prepared meeting room at the United Nations. The massive doors swung open, and Ambassador Torak of the Galactic Empire entered. His tall, slender form towered over the humans. His skin shimmered with a metallic purple hue, and his four-fingered hands were adorned with jewels. "People of Earth." Torak's translated voice boomed through the speakers. "The Galactic Empire welcomes you to the community of civilized worlds. Your isolation ends today." In the present, Reed paused the playback. "We were so excited, so naive." Admiral Wilson nodded. "I was just a kid. I remember the parades." Reed pressed play again. The recording showed Earth's leaders signing the Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation. Torak's smile never reached his eyes. "We offer you protection, technology, and trade," Torak announced. "In exchange, we ask only for reasonable access to your natural resources and cooperation with Imperial directives." The young Reed in the recording stood up. "Ambassador, what exactly do you mean by reasonable access? And what kind of directives?" The other humans in the room looked embarrassed by Reed's questions. The UN Secretary General quickly spoke over him. "Please forgive Dr. Reed. He's a scientist, always curious." Torak's expression hardened for just a moment. "Of course, curiosity is commendable, but rest assured, the Empire is generous to its friends." Reed stopped the playback again. "They called me paranoid. Said I was jeopardizing humanity's greatest opportunity." The screen changed to scenes from 6 months later. Imperial ships hovering over the Amazon basin. Massive mining operations in Africa. Workers toiling in dangerous conditions while Imperial overseers watched. "They took everything," Reed said quietly. "Our uranium, rare earth metals, water, even our art and cultural artifacts for their museums." The recording showed protests that were quickly suppressed by Imperial security forces. Humans who resisted were taken away on ships, never to return. "But some of us didn't give up," Reed continued, changing to a new set of recordings. The screen showed secret meetings in underground bunkers. Engineers and scientists from around the world working together, studying pieces of Imperial technology. "We formed the resistance 12 months after first contact," Reed explained, "right after they established the first labor camps in Australia." Admiral Wilson watched as the old footage showed the early resistance members, including Reed, taking an oath. "We couldn't match their technology, so we had to be smarter," Reed said. "We let them think we were simple, obedient, all while we studied, learned, and planned." The screen showed Imperial officers laughing as humans struggled with supposedly simple tasks. Behind their backs, those same humans were reverse engineering Imperial tech. "Their biggest mistake was underestimating us," Reed said with a small smile. "They thought we were just strong backs and simple minds." The final recording showed a secret meeting from just 10 years ago. Reed, now with gray hair, addressing a room of engineers. "The shield technology works," he announced to cheers. "The Empire has no idea what we've developed. When the time comes, Earth will stand ready." Admiral Wilson turned to the elder Reed. "You waited 75 years for this day." Reed's eyes reflected the determination of a lifetime. The Empire came to Earth expecting to find servants. Instead, they found the seeds of their own downfall. Outside the window, the first stars appeared in the evening sky. Somewhere out there, Imperial ships were approaching, expecting an easy victory against a primitive world. They were in for a surprise 75 years in the making. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the Imperial warship Subjugator, his tall frame rigid with pride. The small fleet of 5 warships under his command moved steadily toward the Sol system. His gray skin tightened around his mouth as he smiled, revealing sharp teeth. "Status report," he demanded. Lieutenant Kor bowed slightly. "We'll reach the outer boundary of Sol in 20 minutes, Commander. No resistance detected." Earth's pathetic declaration appears to be nothing but empty words. Vex nodded. This assignment was beneath him, but he intended to use it to advance his position. Quelling a minor rebellion on a resource world would look good in his military record. "Prepare the shock troops," he ordered. "I want boots on Earth within 6 hours. High Commander Drell expects a swift resolution." The fleet passed Neptune without incident. Vex relaxed in his command chair, scrolling through information about Earth on his datapad. Such a primitive species. Their technology was centuries behind Imperial standards. Their military consisted of small vessels that rarely left their own atmosphere. "Sir, we're approaching Jupiter," reported the navigation officer. Vex barely looked up. "Maintain course. Full speed." As the Imperial ships entered Jupiter's orbit, a young sensor officer frowned at her console. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from Jupiter's moons." Vex sighed. "Probably just volcanic activity on Io. These primitive systems are always." The alarm klaxon cut him off. Suddenly, the main view screen showed dozens of objects rising from the surfaces of Jupiter's moons. What had appeared to be natural formations were now clearly revealed as massive weapon platforms. "Impossible," Vex shouted, jumping to his feet. "Humans don't have this technology." Lieutenant Kor's voice shook. "Sir, those are ion cannons. Advanced models. They're powering up." "Evasive maneuvers," Vex ordered. "Raise shields." The first volley from Europa's hidden defense network struck the smallest Imperial ship, the Dominator. Its shields flickered and failed instantly. The second volley cut through its hull like paper. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. On the Subjugator, systems began failing as Jupiter's magnetic field suddenly intensified to unnatural levels. The humans had somehow turned the gas giant's natural magnetosphere into a weapon. "Sir, we've lost engine control. Shields at 30%. Vex couldn't believe what was happening. This was supposed to be an easy mission, a show of force against inferiors. How could humans have developed technology that could cripple Imperial warships? "Launch fighters," he ordered. "Target those platforms." Imperial fighters streaked toward Europa, only to be met by swarms of small, agile Earth vessels that emerged from hidden bases on Ganymede. The Earth ships were unlike anything in Imperial records, fast, maneuverable, and armed with weapons that cut through Imperial armor. "Sir, we've lost the Conqueror," Lieutenant Kor reported, panic evident in his voice. Another explosion lit up the view screen. Vex slammed his fist against his command console. 3 of his 5 ships were already destroyed or disabled. This simple mission had turned into a disaster. "Retreat," he ordered, the word bitter in his mouth. "Full power to rear shields. Get us out of this system." As the Subjugator and the one remaining support ship turned to flee, a transmission cut through their communications. "Imperial vessels," said a calm human voice. "You have entered restricted space after clear warning. This was just our outer defense line. Turn back now." Vex snarled at the screen. "This isn't over, humans. The Empire will not forget this insult." The 2 remaining Imperial ships limped away from Jupiter, systems damaged and pride shattered. As they passed Neptune's orbit, Vex ordered a message sent to Imperial Command. "The humans have weapons and technology far beyond our intelligence reports," he dictated. "Request immediate reinforcements. This will require a full battle fleet." As the damaged ships jumped to hyperspace, Vex stared at the distant blue dot that was Earth. How had they hidden such advancement? And more importantly, what other surprises were waiting deeper in the system? Back at Jupiter, Captain Walker of Earth's Defense Force allowed himself a small smile. "Phase 1 complete," he reported to Earth Command. "The Empire has received our message." The Martian base New Hope lay hidden beneath the red planet's surface, invisible to Imperial scanners. Inside the massive underground complex, Captain Walker stepped from the transport tube and removed his helmet. The smell of growing plants and fresh water filled the air, a startling contrast to the dead world above. "Captain on deck," someone called, and the busy workers paused to acknowledge him. Walker waved them back to work. At ease. Where can I find Kira? A young technician pointed toward the central dome. Engineering lab. Sir, she's been there since we got news of the Imperial retreat. Walker made his way through the bustling base. Humans worked side by side with beings from a dozen different worlds, all refugees from planets conquered by the Empire. Some had scales, others tentacles or wings, but all shared the same purpose: freedom from Imperial rule. The engineering lab doors slid open, revealing a vast room filled with technology far beyond Earth's development level. Standing at a holographic display was Kira, her purple skin reflecting the blue light of the projection. 4 arms worked simultaneously, adjusting calculations and moving virtual components. She turned as Walker entered, her large silver eyes blinking. Captain, your defense network performed perfectly. The Imperial ships never knew what hit them. Walker smiled. They wouldn't have retreated if they'd known it was their own technology we used against them. Kira laughed, a musical sound. Improved technology. Your people did things with our designs that we never considered. 12 years ago, Kira's ship had crashed in the Atacama Desert, carrying refugees from her homeworld of Altair V. The Empire had stripped her planet of resources and abandoned it when nothing valuable remained. Instead of turning her over to Imperial authorities, Earth's resistance had hidden her people and learned from them. More refugees followed. Scientists and engineers who had seen their own worlds destroyed brought their knowledge to Earth. Together, they built something the Empire never expected: a resistance that could actually fight back. How are the shield generators holding up? Walker asked, examining the projection of Mars. Better than expected, Kira replied. The energy output is stable. We can maintain the planetary shields around both Earth and Mars for months if necessary. The lab doors opened again, and Dr. Reed entered, accompanied by a tall, insect-like being named Tal. Tal's people, the Neri, had been renowned weapons designers before the Empire decimated their civilization. The Empire has sent a message to their high command, Tal reported, his translator converting his clicks and whistles to English. They're assembling a larger fleet. Reed nodded grimly. As we expected, Vex won't accept this defeat. Then we proceed with Phase 2, Walker said. Tal, are the deep space beacons ready? The Neri engineer's antennae twitched with pride. All 20 are prepared for deployment. Once activated, they will transmit our message to every conquered world in the Empire. Kira brought up a new hologram showing the known galaxy. Small red dots represented Imperial worlds, while blue dots showed conquered planets where resistance cells had been established. Our network is ready, she said. When the Imperial fleet comes, we won't be fighting alone. Walker studied the map. For decades, Earth had been secretly communicating with resistance movements on other worlds. The Empire, in its arrogance, never imagined its conquered planets would work together. The timing must be perfect, Reed cautioned. If we move too soon, the Empire will crush each rebellion separately. And if we wait too long, Earth could fall, Kira added. Walker took a deep breath. We've been planning this for years. Earth was never meant to defeat the Empire alone. We just needed to be the spark. The group moved to a window overlooking the vast underground city. Thousands of refugees and humans lived and worked together here, hidden from Imperial eyes. Similar bases existed on Europa, Titan, and in the asteroid belt. The Empire thinks they're coming to put down a single rebellious planet, Walker said quietly. Instead, they're walking into the beginning of a galactic revolution. Kira placed one of her 4 hands on Walker's shoulder. My people have a saying. The strongest chain is forged from many different metals. Walker nodded. And soon, that chain will break the Empire's grip on the galaxy. High Commander Drell paced the polished floor of the Imperial Council chamber, his boots echoing in the tense silence. The curved walls displayed images of Commander Vex's shattered fleet, a humiliation unprecedented in the Empire's 5,000-year history. 3 warships destroyed by a resource world. Drell finally exploded, slamming his fist on the central table. This cannot stand. The 12 members of the Galactic Imperial Council watched him with varying expressions. Some nodded in agreement, others looked concerned, and a few seemed calculating. Councillor Merrick, the oldest member, spoke first. The reports are disturbing. The weapons' signatures don't match any known human technology. Because they stole our designs, snarled Councillor Brax, the military representative. These primitives have somehow acquired Imperial tech and turned it against us. That doesn't explain everything, said Councillor Talia, head of Imperial Intelligence. Her 6 eyes blinked in sequence as she brought up new holographic data. Our analysis shows modifications beyond mere copying. The humans have innovated. This statement caused a stir around the table. Innovation was not something the Empire associated with subject species. Impossible, Drell dismissed. Humans are laborers and miners. They lack the capacity for such advancement. Talia's expression remained neutral. Yet 3 Imperial warships lie destroyed. The chamber fell silent again. On the wall screens, images from Earth's history played, scenes the Empire had largely ignored. Humans fighting world wars, splitting the atom, exploring their solar system with primitive rockets. Perhaps, ventured Councillor Lorne, we have underestimated them. Drell's eyes narrowed. What are you suggesting? That we allow a minor world to defy the Empire. Next, you'll propose we respect their ridiculous ban. I'm suggesting, Lorne replied calmly, that we consider all options before committing our forces to what could be a costly engagement. Talia nodded and activated a new display. We're receiving reports of unusual activity on several other subject worlds. Lyra IV, Centauri Beta, and Orion's Belt have all reported local uprisings in the past week. Coincidence? Brax dismissed. Is it? Asked Merrick. Or are they watching Earth's defiance? This unsettling thought hung in the air. The Empire controlled over 300 worlds, most of them subjugated rather than willingly joined. The thought of a coordinated rebellion was unthinkable, but so was the defeat of an Imperial fleet by humans. I propose an immediate show of force, Drell said. I will personally lead our central fleet to crush this rebellion. 20 battleships should be sufficient to reduce Earth's defenses to ash. And if they have more surprises waiting? Talia asked. We still don't understand how they developed these weapons, which is why we should send a diplomatic mission first, suggested Councillor Pell, who had remained silent until now. Learn what we're facing before committing our main fleet. Drell's face flushed with anger. Diplomacy. With rebels? Strategic assessment, Pell corrected. Send negotiators to determine their capabilities while we prepare a proper military response. The council chambers erupted into debate. Some councillors sided with Drell, demanding immediate military action. Others urged caution, pointing out that the Empire had never lost a fleet so quickly. Finally, Emperor Zol, who had been silently observing, raised his hand. The chamber instantly fell silent. We have ruled the galaxy for 5 millennia, the Emperor said, his voice soft but commanding. We did not achieve this by reacting emotionally to setbacks. He turned to Drell. Prepare your fleet, Commander. But first, we will send diplomats as Councillor Pell suggests. Drell bowed stiffly. As you command, Emperor. However, the Emperor continued, these diplomats will have a second purpose. They will assess Earth's defenses and determine the best approach for your attack. The council members nodded in agreement. This compromise satisfied both factions. As the meeting adjourned, Talia approached Merrick in the corridor outside. You're concerned, Merrick observed. Talia glanced around to ensure they weren't overheard. Something isn't right. No subjugated world has ever developed this quickly. The humans have help. From whom? We control all advanced civilizations. Talia's 6 eyes blinked in sequence again. That's what troubles me. What if we don't? The Imperial diplomatic vessel Tranquil Discourse approached the edge of the Sol system. its sleek silver hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. Unlike the warships that had come before, this ship carried no visible weapons, though scanners from Earth's outposts detected plenty hidden beneath its elegant exterior. Imperial vessel, this is Earth Defense Command, came the transmission from the human outpost near Pluto. State your purpose. Inside the ship, Ambassador Lex adjusted his formal robes. Tall and graceful with pale blue skin and silver hair, he had negotiated the surrender of 7 worlds during his career. "This is Ambassador Lex of the Galactic Imperial Council," he replied smoothly. "We come in peace to discuss recent misunderstandings." A pause followed. Lex waited patiently, confident in the outcome. These humans would soon understand the mistake they had made. "Proceed to coordinates being transmitted," came the response. "Deviate from this path, and you will be destroyed." Lex raised an eyebrow, but signaled his pilot to comply. As they moved deeper into the system, 4 Earth ships appeared from hiding places among the asteroids. They surrounded the diplomatic vessel, weapons ready. Such hostility for a diplomatic meeting, Lex commented to his assistant, Mira. Mira looked nervous. "Ambassador, these aren't the primitive ships our records showed. These vessels appear to have advanced shielding and weapons systems." Lex frowned. Intelligence had clearly failed in their assessment of human capabilities. The escort tightened as they passed Mars. Lex was startled to see massive structures on the red planet's surface, structures that hadn't been in any Imperial records. When did the humans establish such a presence on Mars? He wondered aloud. The Earth ships guided them into orbit around the blue planet. A shuttle was sent to transport the Imperial delegation to the surface. In the United Defense Force headquarters beneath Geneva, Admiral Wilson and Dr. Reed prepared to meet the Imperial diplomats. Captain Walker had returned from Mars to join them. "Remember," Reed cautioned, "Lex is one of their best manipulators. He'll try to divide us." Wilson nodded. "We stick to the plan. No concessions." The Imperial delegation entered the conference room with practiced grace. Lex's eyes took in every detail. The simple but effective technology, the determined faces of the human leaders, and the surprising presence of what appeared to be non-humans partially hidden in the observation gallery. "Admiral Wilson," Lex began, bowing slightly. "The Empire thanks you for receiving us. There has clearly been a serious misunderstanding." Wilson didn't smile. "There's no misunderstanding, Ambassador. Earth has closed its borders to the Empire." Lex maintained his pleasant expression. "A decision made in haste, perhaps. The Empire has brought prosperity to countless worlds. Your people have benefited greatly from our guidance." Reed could no longer remain silent. "Guidance? You mean exploitation. You've stripped our resources, used our people as labor, and taken our cultural treasures." "Necessary sacrifices for advancement," Lex replied smoothly. "But I'm authorized to offer new terms. The Empire will reduce resource quotas by 20% and allow limited self-governance." Walker laughed. "You still don't understand. We're not negotiating better terms. We're announcing our independence." Lex's pleasant facade slipped for a moment. "Independence is not an option available to you." His voice hardened. "Let me be clear. High Commander Drell has assembled 20 battleships, ready to remove your pitiful defenses. I am offering you a chance to avoid annihilation." The room fell silent. Lex thought he had won. Then Reed smiled. "Ambassador, we've prepared a presentation for you." The wall screen activated, showing images that made Lex's blood run cold. Hidden human colonies beyond Imperial space, alliance meetings with representatives from dozens of supposedly subjugated worlds, stockpiles of weapons based on improved Imperial designs. "You see," Reed explained, "we don't need to defeat your empire. We just need to make conquering us too costly." Walker leaned forward. "Your fleet can come. But while they're here, rebellions will ignite across 50 worlds. Can your empire fight on that many fronts?" Lex stared at the humans, truly seeing them for the first time. These weren't simple miners and laborers. They were strategists who had outmaneuvered the Empire at every turn. "The Empire does not respond to threats," he said weakly. Wilson stood. "This isn't a threat, Ambassador. It's a promise. Take our message back. The age of Imperial conquest is over." High Commander Drell stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Inevitable Victory, his face a mask of determination. Before him, the massive armada of 20 battleships and 30 support vessels prepared to enter the Sol system. This would be the largest military operation the Empire had launched in 3 centuries. "All ships report ready for jump, Commander," his first officer announced. Drell nodded. "Begin the attack sequence. No mercy for these rebels." As the fleet moved forward, a junior communications officer suddenly called out, "Sir, urgent messages coming in from multiple sectors." "Ignore them," Drell ordered. "Nothing is more important than crushing Earth's rebellion." "Sir," the officer insisted, "Lyra IV reports their Imperial garrison has been overrun. Centauri Beta's mining operations are under attack. Orion's Belt Communications Hub has gone dark." Drell froze. "How many worlds are reporting disturbances?" The officer swallowed hard. 53, sir. And counting. Exactly as the humans had warned. Drell's mind raced as he tried to process this impossible situation. How had Earth coordinated with so many worlds without Imperial intelligence detecting it? "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer reported. The main view screen activated, showing Admiral Wilson standing with Captain Walker and the alien female Kira. "Commander Drell," Wilson said calmly, "as you've likely discovered, your empire is now fighting on multiple fronts. We're prepared to discuss terms for peace." Drell snarled, "The Empire does not negotiate with rebels." "Then the Empire will fall," Kira replied simply. "Look around you, Commander. The age of tyranny is ending." The view screen split to show images from across the galaxy, Imperial outposts under attack, supply lines disrupted, and subject species rising up together. The coordinated rebellion had been planned for decades, with Earth serving as both catalyst and symbol. Drell's hands gripped the command console tightly. "This is impossible." "No," Walker said. "This was inevitable. The Empire grew too confident, too careless. You never imagined that those you conquered would learn from each other." In the Imperial capital, the council chamber had descended into chaos. Reports of rebellions flooded in faster than they could be processed. Emperor Zol sat silently on his throne, watching as 5 millennia of Imperial rule began to crumble. "Contact Commander Drell," the Emperor finally ordered. "Tell him to hold position and not attack Earth. We need time to reconsider our approach." 1 year later, representatives from 74 formerly subjugated worlds gathered in a newly constructed dome on Earth's moon. The transparent ceiling revealed Earth hanging beautifully in the black sky above them. Captain Walker, now Admiral Walker, stood at the central podium. Beside him stood Kira, Dr. Reed, and leaders from dozens of freed worlds. "Today marks the formation of the Galactic Confederation," Walker announced. "Unlike the Empire, our alliance is built on mutual respect, cooperation, and the right of all sentient beings to determine their own future." The former Imperial capital world of Nexus had sent representatives as well. After months of internal conflict, reformers had taken control of the government. The Empire now controlled only its home system and a handful of loyal worlds. "We do not seek revenge," Kira added, her 4 arms raised in a traditional gesture of peace. "We seek a new beginning. All worlds, including those formerly of the Empire, are welcome to join our confederation as equals." As the ceremony concluded, Walker and Kira walked to the observation deck overlooking the lunar landscape. Earth shone brilliantly against the black of space. "Your people were right to defy them," Kira said softly. "Sometimes the smallest planets have the strongest gravity." Walker smiled. "And the humblest beginnings lead to the greatest changes." Below them, the representatives began signing the Confederation Charter. Species that had once been enemies now worked together, united by their desire for freedom. On Earth, people gathered in cities and towns to watch the ceremony broadcast live. Children who had known only Imperial rule would grow up in a very different galaxy, one where Earth wasn't just a resource world, but the birthplace of a new era of galactic freedom. Dr. Reed, watching from his home in the Rocky Mountains, raised a glass to the night sky. "Who would have thought," he whispered, "that entry forbidden would become the first words of a new history?"